So it's okay? Is it going from camera?
This is your. Okay, so it's been
It's going, yeah, from camera, it's okay.
So now you can connect your power supply and leave it.
Yeah, so it's working
Promise.
like it should work, yeah?
Close this.
And where could I find link of this translation to share? It's here, yeah. Copy. Yeah, understand. Yeah. Great. One moment.
What time this event finishes?
16:40.
The position of
One moment, sorry.
Very, very successful. We've got an interesting system thing about that's it.
So it's working, yeah? It's
Go to YouTube.
Sorry?
Go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube. Translation.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's okay.
So leave it as it is. Check the link which you shared.
Yeah.
Also, email me the link. I will also see it from my office when I go. No, it's fine. From your phone, you can send it. You don't.
Yeah, it's working here.
So shall I start the Zoom?
Yeah, you could prepare it. How to
Pause.
how to delete this video? Do you know? This was first one that we didn't do it. How
Oh,
to
you can
delete
delete it by connection.
this one? I need to delete.
You can go to your videos,
Yeah.
and then from there you can
Yeah.
delete it. So,
Okay.
so this is.
Yeah, I understand here. Translation. Yeah, this one. I should delete.
Where is it?
One moment.
If you just forward, no, I don't know. What's your language? No.
Yeah. So South Street.
Right, so I'll start.
Say something for the European Commission, then that would be so happy. It's you don't say something, I will have to ask you.
Hold on. Yeah,
You do Here we are. Maybe we can make that on Twitter. Yeah. If you are something to the one. Yeah, there's more changes, many things.
Розумний. Вже другий колектив розвалився. Організаційного якогось
Texas. Public transport.
якось поєднувати.
All the Romanians and Bulgarians are coming with Brexit. They took all the Indians in
Перший комітет розпався, почали працювати над територіями Чорноземної Росії як самостійно. І пішли різні думки. Ми заклали наші, видали мову, і вона вже у деяких студіях та кабінетах висить. Дуже важко. Київські кабінети в вересні були в Києві. Я проходив кабінети, де мої партнери не дійшли. Тому що вона ж у нас називається Київська мова. PostRussiaForum, це наша розробка, але вона ж київська тільки за назвою, ще в київських кабінетах, де посадовці повинні знати, що є київський погляд на все це. І воно їм за військовими справами та службовими обов'язками. Що? А, да, я чую. Ти що так? Що? А, я чую, так. І, покладіть. А ти ж потрібно. Та ні, давай. Тільки деякі персонажі, вони. Я підняв план і зараз цим проблем. Розширування. Треба виходити на рівень. Побудови спеціальної державної служби. Це урядова програма. Це не абияк від волонтерської від мене. Скільки вистачає наших сил та можливостей, вони дороблять, але потрібно, що фізичною працею є взаємодія з деякими людьми, які ще не на території Росії. Але це ж отак. Тому що якщо виявиться у відомствах стане відомо, що вони навіть просто спілкуються. Працювали там трохи давно, але можу сказати, що значно краще справи, ніж у вересні, коли ми починали прошлого року. Велика перспектива. І будемо будувати, зустрівся з деякими депутатами, що працювали марна праця. Наші спецслужби більше розуміються, але вони практично, воно не знаходиться в них обов'язків. Там вони вже просили там видати Юру Лідарчик з підписом від авторів. Я говорю, що там не розуміється, а це лише наші військові служби, це зовнішній розвиток. Має, але нема обов'язків, нема. Та й не такі вже ресурси, потім вже треба мати державну завдання, державну службу, яка займається кожною з території. А нам вже ж всім займатися. Треба тільки ті, які будуть точками суперкрихкості і не дадуть зібратися до цілі. І маю таке, що в прошлому році, коли починали, тільки ж зимою завершили, домовилися про контур Росії, яка київська карта. Чим вона відрізняється від інших планів? Чому це саме київський інтерес? Зробили необхідні публікації, тільки домовилися. І спочатку відношення було зараз вже змінюється. Я сподіваюся, що мабуть цієї дійсно почнеться якась робота інтелектуальниця. Тому що Вашингтон, який все керує, щось пускає, щось не пускає, Лондон дякує своєї особливої ролі. Лише була одна публікація, що Лондон великий вчені не знайшов людей. Мабуть, сюди хтось прийде, який зацікавлений займається. І як, коли, що для того треба робити, щоб почути. Ну, я в Києві будучи. Я почав пару проєктів, що воно дуже в'язко. Дуже поступово, дуже з натури. Раніше швидше вирішували. Ми думали, все йде краще, ніж вона сподівалася. Вона зараз професор з України.
I'm normally totally mainstream person, but after the BRICS, actually, honestly, I was thinking about that.
В Україні навіть не вміє я знайшла собі якесь розуміння, приїхали вдома, люди, нас там спочатку жили біженці, потім товариство, щоб думати, хто порядок. Я підійшов, не знаю, я підійшов. Ну, ми ж написали раз, я з яким висловив, і пан Роман, я його знав, він шукав комерційну. Ну, я тільки зараз познайомився з Олегом. А так висловалося. Я думаю, що буду організовувати презентацію київською, де зможу свого партнера, який Кавказу. Я у Кавказі розібратися. Скільки раз починав, там чорт. Це на 20. Вони нові романтичні.
Okay, I'll show you one, because you will have this problem. What's the seat generation on the
Every chair has 4 copies, so this may be.
Here, you're right.
Oleg. Anyone should be like here.
Зараз в процесі Але вони
Great. Thank you.
зараз що починаючи з завтрашнього. Треба вже знаходитися в містах скупчення.
Yeah.
It's yours, it's mine. I'm giving it for the
Okay.
but we're doing this presentation on the laptop, so you need to copy it.
Okay. Thank you. I will check out. Okay.
But there are four different things.
Sorry, not all.
Disintegration of the first one. We'll do it on Paris or then.
Okay. You can
Вони підставляли більше.
Recording in progress.
Спочатку смутили. Ну, от перша група. У мене це найбільш популярна в нашому якості заставки. І з ними ж розійшли, ми кажемо, Черкесі, а вони кажуть, Європі.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Taras Byk. I have honor the privilege to moderate this forum. So this is 8th forum of Free Nations of Post-Russia. We had forums in Poland, in Turkey, in Sweden, in European Parliament in Brussels, then in the United States, and then in Tokyo. And I would like to say that first forums were pretty much ignored by the Kremlin. Then they were trying to ridicule our event, and after Tokyo event, there was the first official reaction from the Kremlin. They expressed protest to the embassy of Japan for holding the event. So basically, I would say that we are moving along the right path. First, they ignore us, then they laugh at us, then they fight us, and now we are going to win. So this is basically our strategy. However, still in the West, the scenario of Russian disintegration is being ignored. And this is something we want to discuss today. Why even in those countries which used to be empires, which collapsed and which became successful democratic states, they do not consider this scenario seriously. And we have 7 outstanding speakers today, 4 offline and 3 online, who will present their short speeches up to 7 minutes, and then we will discuss this topic. And I would like to invite, first of all, Senior Fellow of Jamestown Foundation, Janusz Bogajski, to present his speech.
Thank you, Taras. Do I need a microphone? Great. Thank you, Taras. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Free Nations. Good morning, Free Regions of Post-Russia. It's a pleasure and privilege. It's a pleasure to be in London and a privilege to be with you all. This is our, I would say, our common struggle for a world free of Muscovite imperialism and colonialism. And I would directly address the title of our forum. I'm going to try and stay on time. The global benefits of post-Russia. And I'm going to outline 10 points why the world needs Russia's rupture, which happens to be the title of my book, which is just also now being published in Russian, for those of you that don't have the English or Ukrainian versions. So let me outline the 10 points. First of all, to guarantee European security. A ruptured Russia diminishes Moscow's military capabilities to engage in foreign aggression, invasion, and conquest, both in Europe and in Asia. As Moscow turns inward, its capacity for foreign aggression will diminish. A rump Muscovite state under intense international sanctions, with falling energy revenues, a depleted budget, and shorn of its resource base in Siberia, will have severely reduced capabilities to attack any neighbor or to foment unrest outside its borders. As a result, NATO's eastern flank from the Arctic to the Baltic Sea will become more secure and enhance economic development and regional cooperation. Second reason, to end Europe's energy dependence. As Russia dissolves, Moscow will lose control of energy producing regions in Siberia and the Urals, and will no longer be able to blackmail European and Asian countries. International sanctions against Russia have been positive for Europe, which has weaned itself largely off Russian imports, barring a few exceptions, such as Hungary and Serbia and gas for Slovakia, and it's boosted alternative supplies and sources. The Western states can rebuild energy relations with newly emerging states in Siberia and the Urals that control their own resources and do not weaponize or imperialize them. Third reason, to undercut political corruption. A fractured Russia will have fewer resources and influence to promote political corruption, interfere in elections, and weaken democracies in all regions of the world. This will help strengthen Western political and economic institutions and undercut bribery, blackmail, and influence peddling by Moscow and its agents. The demise of Russia's economic oligarchy can assist in making international financial institutions more transparent and less corrupt. 4, to combat disinformation. When Russia disintegrates, Moscow will be unable to undermine democracies and promote widening domestic conflicts through disinformation and other components of its anti-Western information wars. This will also dispel the myth of Russia's great power status, through which the Kremlin spreads its influence throughout the world. It will undercut Russia's influence in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, as the failure of the Russian colonial state will be fully on display. 5, to enhance multi-regional cooperation and economic development. After Russia's ruptures, all bordering regions will be able to develop trade, transport, energy, and infrastructure connections without fear of disruption or manipulation by Moscow. When Russia ruptures, Moscow's corrupt financial penetration will be eroded, and numerous states can enhance their economic development and diversify their business portfolios. In the Western Balkans, without Russian support, Serbia's ability to destabilize the region will be reduced, and the threat of partition or conflict in Bosnia, Herzegovina, Kosovo, and Montenegro will recede. The EU project can gather momentum, and NATO will no longer have an internal flank that it will need to protect from Moscow's ambitions. 6, to assure independence and integrity for all neighbors. When Russia disintegrates, Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova can regain their occupied territories and petition for EU and NATO integration without fear of Moscow's reaction. Belarus can also secure its independence and European future. Central Asian states will become increasingly liberated and can deepen energy, economic, and security connections with Europe, the US, and NATO. Georgia will be able to negotiate the return of Abkhazia and South Ossetia within a Georgian federation. Armenia and Azerbaijan will finally be able to sign a peace treaty without Moscow's interference. This will also undercut negative Iranian influence in the region and help Turkey to develop relations with Turkic-speaking states in Central Asia and Turkic nations in the Russian Federation. And Georgia and Azerbaijan, of course, will be able to forge relations with the emerging independent republics of the North Caucasus and help them to become new partners with Western institutions. 7, to free Russia's indigenous nations. After Russia's collapse, indigenous nations in distinct regions oppressed by Moscow will gain their self-determination, sovereignty, land, and resources. Several nations will also reclaim and rediscover their cultures, languages, and identities that have been suppressed by Moscow for many generations. This includes, of course, the indigenous peoples of the Arctic, Siberia, and the Far East. 8, to build new democracies. Russia's rupture will release several new states in Europe and Asia that can move towards democracy and restore human and civil rights. We often hear that the collapse of Russia will result in the emergence of new authoritarian states. I would phrase it this way. With Russia, democracy is always under threat. Without Russia, democracy becomes a much stronger proposition, in which the Western and Eastern democracies can influence and assist in their development. What remains of the Russian state, or a confederation of Russian regions, can finally develop into a non-imperial nation state with an opportunity for democratic development and economic progress. Russia will finally be liberated from its imperial tradition that has retarded the country's progress. 9, to empower new allies. When Russia ruptures, several new states in Europe and Asia will be able to choose their transatlantic and trans-Pacific alliances, while ensuring their security, stability, and economic development. This will also expand the common Western and Eastern front against Chinese imperialism and help reinforce the development of trans-Pacificism, between North America, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. And last but not least, the benefits of Russia's rupture to curtail Chinese influence. Although in a weaker position to expand its influence by collaborating with a failed Russia, China will seek to benefit from Russia's rupture by expanding its presence among new states in Siberia and the Far East. The US and EU must therefore deepen their presence in these regions and work with Japan, with Canada, with South Korea, with Taiwan to open up avenues for diplomatic, political, and economic cooperation with embryonic allies. Regions and republics in Russia's Far East will seek recognition and investment from abroad. And similarly to the Central Asian states, they will resist incorporation into an expanding Chinese economic empire. Basically, America and Europe will have more allies and can focus on curtailing and combating Chinese imperialism without Russian obstruction and distraction. So I think I'm more or less on time. I think I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your speech and for your book. By the way, the book was written before the full-scale invasion, so it was not some reaction to the full-scale Russian invasion. It was first draft was written before the full-scale invasion.
1 week before.
1 week before the invasion, yes. And basically, it predicts like all those. It perfectly predicts all those scenarios that already are happening and will be happening. And thanks to the NGO RQA, the book has been translated into Ukrainian and now Russian, and is available in those languages as well.
There's a few Russian copies of that for free if you want to take.
So we'll switch between our offline and online speakers, and now I would like to invite representatives of the Rhodos Intelligence, the founder of this organization, Kamil Galeev. Kamil, are you with us?
Yeah, nice to see everyone.
Great. Yes, you are welcome to speak.
So, the topic of the Russian potential collapse predictably raises controversy among the Western opinion makers and foreign policy makers. And again, predictably express anxiety and uncertainty about what would follow. So there is a lot of, again, controversy regarding whether it is potentially in Western interests against them or whether it is unclear. Still, this collapse can and very probably will happen for internal reasons, irrespectively of what foreign opinion makers or foreign policy makers think. So in this speech, I'll try to outline some considerations that may be useful for forecasting and prognosing the future. So predicting the future is always difficult, and predicting the timing is difficult. Famously, Lenin in January 1917 complained and lamented that he and his generation will not see their future battles of the revolution, but only the young communists have a chance to. So in about 2 months, the Russian Empire fell. Why I'm mentioning this? To illustrate the difficulty of giving correct timing for the future events. Still, we have the hard ground for making such prognosis. It's demography. Demography is probably the only, as we would say in Russian, единственная точная из социальных наук. So it is probably the only social science that gives us a hard ground for prognosing the future. So, which significant, which long demographic trends do we see, and which trends can be extrapolated into the future? I would name 3 ones. First, it is the demographic collapse of Russian population through internal migration into just 3 points. It's Moscow agglomeration, it's St. Petersburg agglomeration, and since recently it's Black Sea agglomeration. Not importantly, but also Rostov and Sochi. So basically, almost all of internal migration in Russia is going to these 3 agglomerations in northwest, in central west, and in southwest, leaving most of the country, especially disproportionately Siberia and Far East, depopulated. This is one major trend. Internal migration, leaving most of the country bare and depopulated. Second, It is the demographic effect of the current war. So now Russia has unprecedentedly low level of natural fertility, which will be exacerbated in the future by the death of many young males on the war, by the fact that many of those who are returning will be handicapped physically or mentally, and third, by the immigration. This is another trend whose consequences will be seen long after this war ends. And third, it is the demographic replacement. The demographic replacement is often seen and referred to as, and usually seen in the context of right-wing fear-mongering, but now I'll try to be as objective and stick to the facts as much as possible. With what we will be seeing in the future, the increase of Central Asian migration to Russia, and not only the quantity increase, but also there are significant upward mobility of previously disenfranchised Central Asian immigrants. We already see how their salary level and payment level is converging or often exceeding that of their ethnic Russian population, especially in the poor regions and countryside. The bargaining power and negotiating power on the job market is already increasing. So projecting and extrapolating these trends in the future, the three trends, we'll see that Russia most probably will end up a very different country. Demographically different country. And although I cannot give specific timing and specific dates or when it survived or when it comes through a next social political crisis, what we can plausibly predict is that it will come out of this crisis as a very different country demographically. Now, what do these three trends I have just outlined imply for my native region of Tatarstan? Where it stands regarding these three trends? First, Tatarstan is an abnormal region, geographically speaking. Unlike almost all regions in the inland of Russia, of course, except Moscow, it has a positive net migration. It is actually the only region, I believe, in the Volga Federal District that has it. Which means that it is abnormal place, abnormal geographic spot that is considered lucrative or promising by the internal migrants to move in already. Most probably, as I know, as a small state administration among the less sane one. Second is a moderately positive fertility, slightly better than in most Russian regions. And third is that it is a region of Muslim culture and identity, and probably of the regions of Muslim culture and identity, the ones that gives and provides the most positive model of socioeconomic development and probably the most high quality institutions among the other Muslim regions of Russia. Therefore, these three considerations must be laid in the foundations for strategy making and for strategic thinking for already existing or aspiring politicians and thinkers. When Russia, or what will come after Russia, comes out of this crisis, it will be a very different space. It will be a very different country. It will have less population, significantly less. Much of the male population will be killed, handicapped mentally or physically in the war, or will emigrate by this point. The role of Central Asian immigrants will very much increase, not only quantitatively, but also qualitatively, due to significant upward mobility. Much of the country will be especially depopulated, at least in terms of young population, And this will be the demographic space where we will have to act. So let's sum up. The effect of this war on to Russia, and especially on inner Russia, on Belarus, will be probably very much comparable with the effects of the Paraguay War on, let's say, Argentina or South America in general. What we will have is quite probably a very significant change in population, in culture, in identity. Like, who now remembers that Argentina used to be a primarily mestizo country until the war with Paraguay starts. Now it's white country. So this is maybe a little bit cynical example, but showing how war conflicts can impact demographic trends and demographic balance. And I would say that at this point, in small towns, in poorer countryside of central Russia, with the disproportionately high share of the mobilized, these effects are already visible. So extrapolating them into the future, we can expect they will be more prominent. And this is the reality which we all will have to face, which again must be considered, let's say, a principal fact, a hard base on which future Tatar politicians and thinkers must develop their strategies.
Thank you so much, Camille, for your excellent analysis. We ask also online speakers to stay with us. We will return to conversation with you later. And now we would like to hear a view from the Mediterraneans, from Gianni Vernetti, who is former senator and Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs of Italy. What's your opinion about the future of Russia, post-Russian space? Yeah.
First of all, let me thank you, the Free Nation PostRussiaForum for the invitation, and let's say I will try to divide my contribution in four areas. First of all, framework, the international geopolitical framework. When we discuss about the threat of the Russian regime towards the security and stability of European spaces, we are not talking about, let's say, the terrible aggression of Russia to Ukraine, but really a larger plan to destabilize, let's say, the free world and the rule-based international order. What we are witnessing since the last few years is a growing confrontation between democracies and autocracy that I am really convinced will define the geopolitics of the coming decades. The limitless alliance that was declared between Russia and China a few days before the Ukraine invasion will never deny it. Stand there. And let's say the growing relationship, military, financial, economic relationship between some of the worst, of the most terrible autocracy and dictatorship is evident. Without Iranian drones every night kill Ukrainian citizens, and without China clear support in buying oil from Iran, that regime could not really give that huge contribution to the Russian failing military assets. So what we are talking about, I think, is a wider scenario that we have to take into consideration. So I think Russia today exports instability worldwide. It's not just a European issue. I don't want to make a long list, and I don't want to recall the history, but this is a long-term plan. Because what began in Transnistria almost 20 years ago, and in the 2008 attack in Georgia with the separation, with the creation of these small, let's say, Gasta republics. I mean, you have Abkhazia, South Ossetia, and then in 2014 with the Donetsk and Luhansk republics. So it's a long-term project of a strategical exportation of instability. So, second point, I'm really convinced the Russian collapse is in the interest of European stability and security, is in the interest of Asian stability and security. So it's a wider issue. I mean, it's not just the specific topics of decolonization that, from my point of view, is absolutely important, of course. But let's say that I'm really convinced that Ukraine victory in the battlefield will lead to the stabilization of the Russian Federation. So we need to prepare international community, diplomatic community, intelligence community that for too long time they are, let's say, in a conservative approach. You can hear by very respected scholars, politicians, and diplomats. So we need to keep to save the Russian Federation. We need to keep integrity of the Russian Federation following the defeat. I'm talking about the West debate. I'm not talking about. So we really need to increase awareness and to prepare for a potential Russian collapse. Of course, we all hope that the post-Ukraine scenario will be a democratization of Russia, but in the process of democratization, you have to take in consideration the possibility that captive nation, people oppressed, could choose their way, autonomous way, and autonomous path. I think that the global benefit of pro-Russian are evident. The first speaker already, I cannot agree more on the 10 points, and some of the points were also in my speech. Let's think about the guarantee for European stability. Let's think about the process of denuclearization that you wisely put in your title of the today forum. Let's say we need a post. Let's say the United Nations today, they suffer a sort of a free nation league, a sort of nation league moment. Remember when the nation leagues, the old international order collapsed. Today we are almost in a similar situation. How can the international order be ruled, be managed by two crazy autocracies with a permanent veto power in the National Security Council? It's terrible to say, but for people like me working all this life in diplomacy, but today, United Nations is probably one of the less useful organizations and instrument that we got. Let's see the failing peacekeeping initiative. I don't want to make a list because I feel you understand. It's clear. Going to the Russian space, I totally agree with what are you trying to promote, and I've been in Russia several times before the war, and naturally, I'm really convinced that probably is the last remaining space that has not been really never decolonized. The decolonization in different waves after the 60s, let's say, involved Africa, involved Latin America, where also in a confusion ways, in some way we can say that there was a progressive freeing political space of occupied territories by the former colonial power. That is never happened in Russia. So I think that Kalmyk, Buryat, Tuva, Yakut, and Tatarstan, Bashkortostan, Bashkiri people, I mean, they have all the rights to find their way. I think there are also some legal and constitutional framework with this could be done following the 1991 constitution of the Russian Federation after the Soviet Union collapsed. But of course, that should be every republic, every ethnic group, every nationality, every nation, every captive nation could find their ways. And so I think we need to prepare the diplomatic environment. We need to prepare the West for this possibility, together with the path for the democratization of what would be last after the military defeat. Lastly, I think that we need to give a contribution for breaking this growing axis of autocracies. I was talking before about the limitless alliance between China and Russia. Sometimes there is some confusion about the Chinese role. Many people, even in the West, continue to think that China is a moral country that is trying to find their original development way. It's not like that. The Belt and Road Initiative is a tool of exportation of an authoritarian model. So I think that today really weakening this axis, weakening the alliance of autocracies, I think is an imperative for Western democracy. So I think that these are the main point, and I think that I really want to thank you again for giving this important contribution to raise the flags on an issue that is in a way forgotten, in a way not very well known in the West especially, but it really could be one of the key to properly address the I may say the post-war in Ukraine, because I think that Ukraine will win. we've been on the battleground. Russia will be defeated militarily and politically, of course. And then we need to really to be prepared what will be next. And within this framework, the job we are doing is quite great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this global overview of the benefits of the post-Russian space. Yes, Ukraine has no other option than to win, but we are here to discuss the scenarios under which we do not see repetition of another war in 10, 20, or 30 years. So I would like to switch back to our online speakers, and from a Mediterranean we'll go to Far Asia, to Japan, and I would like to give the floor to Korekiyo Takahashi, the representative director of All Japan Parafuto and Research Organization. Korekiyo, are you with us?
Mute.
Can you turn on your microphone?
You should unmute. It's mute.
You have to get unmuted. Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Ask him to unmute, please.
Can you unmute the microphone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do you hear me?
Not me, but Takashi.
No, it's very good.
Yeah. Ask. Korea.
Korekiyo, can you unmute? Okay, your microphone is muted. Can you turn on your microphone? Yes. But we still cannot hear you.
He's mute. No. It's working. Yeah,
We cannot hear you still. Is the microphone on? Yes. So we still have some technical problems. Might as well unmute French.
Yes, it should work.
No, we can't hear you.
Ask Andrei Gorenko to speak. Probably he could come if it's okay. We will decide if it was a problem with.
Andrei Gorenko, can you jump in now while we are solving technical problems in Japan? No, he's not with us.
Yeah.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah. Now we hear.
I think from the second channel.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now. So you are welcome to speak, to deliver a speech. Mr. Takahashi, you are welcome to deliver a speech.
Do you speak English?
Yes.
No, you tell me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, we can hear you.
May I start?
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Korekiyo Takahashi. I'm the representative director of All Japan Class Research Organization. Well, before the speech, I'd like to start with this. First, all the nuclear weapons in Russia must be used now And two, second, Russia wants to be expelled from the UN Security Council immediately for global peace. And now I would like to make a short speech. Last
I think we have lost you once again.
I think show to next week.
Sorry, we cannot hear you once again. You cannot hear us. Because Japan is too far from us. Sorry, Mr. Technology, we cannot hear you. And you cannot hear us probably.
Go back to basics.
Actually, you're close to the camera. You can do it.
Please ask probably Andrei Kurenko to speak. Probably he's.
Andrei Kurenko, are you with us?
Probably Takahashi-san, we don't hear you. Probably you put off your microphone. Oh, it's here.
Okay, maybe while we're waiting,
Or please ask him to check his audio settings.
Sorry?
Sanjay, could you repeat, please?
Yeah, check his audio settings. We do not have any problems from our side.
Could you repeat?
Can you check your audio settings because everything is fine on our side? Maybe while we are waiting, we'll return to offline speakers. Right, Olivia. Okay, while we are solving technical problems, we'll invite well-known analyst, author of several books, who is affiliated with the Slovak Foreign Policy Association, and Juraj Mesik, who will deliver his speech now with the presentation.
Full screen. Full screen. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Please take the microphone.
Or you could do it from here with microphone.
I just wanted to put the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what is it. Is it F3?
Escape first.
Sorry?
Escape first.
Escape. And somebody will
F5.
F5. Ah, this is what I wanted. Okay, the original idea was that we'll speak about lessons learned from disintegration of European empires after World War I. So let me return to that idea. But we are in London, and it's difficult to start without reflection of some faces of the London. Well, this is one phase of London, and those of you familiar with the history of Central Europe know this. I brought you a piece for our times. This is Prime Minister of this great country, Great Britain, returning from Munich Treaty, September 30th, 1938. He has many followers in the 21st century, many peacemakers with tyranns. They are actually still ruling this planet. Well, this country has also another phase, and this is 20 months later from the speech of Winston Churchill, who stand against the tyranny, and who gave, among his many famous speeches, the one about "we shall defend our island, we shall fight on beaches," and so on. And 22 years before the Chamberlain and Winston Churchill's glorious moment at the beginning of the 20th century,
there was this gentleman who was trying to build a basis for an enduring peace. You probably recognize the US President Woodrow Wilson, who set the scene for the post-First World War development in Europe, including the disintegration of German Empire and Austro-Hungarian Empire and Ottoman Empire. So Woodrow Wilson in January 1980 came with his 14 points, which were supposed to be basis for enduring peace. And they were to assure that the coalition winning the First World War was to assure demilitarization of the Central Powers, decolonization, and some other things, including some of the points dealing with the future of Russia, obviously of Italy, Austro-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Polish state, and the League of Nations was outlined in his speech. Now, in 1919, 1920, the Paris Peace Conference was the forum at which the future of Europe was decided, and there were a number of treaties accepted at this conference dealing with individual empires. So German Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, Ottoman Empire. The Paris Peace Conference failed to deal systematically with Russia. The Russia had this complicated history during the First World War. At the beginning, they fought on the side of France and Britain. Then the revolution in 1917 came. The communists, the Bolsheviks, agreed on separate peace for Germany, which de facto made them ally of Germany in the last year of the war, after the Brest-Litovsk peace, and so on. Now, Treaty of Versailles dealt with the future of Germany, and it was signed in June 1990. Germany did not participate in the negotiation, and it set some goals, such as disarmament and demilitarization of Germany and the German Navy, loss of colonies, German colonies in Africa and Oceania, territorial concessions in Europe, reparations to entity counties were quantified and set. Now, the control over the colonies lost by Germany and Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire was dealt in a separate treaty, where the institutional framework for dealing with these colonies taken from these empires were the League of Nations mandates. They gave legal status for territories which were transferred from Germany and Ottoman Empire to other countries. And there were three separate categories. So you see African colonies, these were German colonies, these were Ottoman Empire colonies, Papua New Guinea, or part of it was a German colony, a number of the Pacific Ocean in the Northern Pacific, which were German colonies. They were given as a mandate territories to control of Great Britain, France, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. I think I named all the countries that took these mandate territories. So this was done. Germany lost its overseas colonies by this agreement. Then Germany was forced to make territorial concessions. There was an Allies occupation of Rhineland and Ruhr regions between 1919 and 1930, up to the east towards the Rhine River. Yeah. And there was demilitarized zone created even on the eastern banks of the Rhine. 50 kilometers wide demilitarized zone in Germany. Alsace-Lorraine was attached to France, and there were occupation zones, temporarily occupation zones created in Germany after First World War, but only on this part of the Germany. Well, you probably all know that the German Navy was sunk. This is in Scapa Flow in Orkney Islands. So the demilitarization of Germany was done. The Navy was practically destroyed. A large part of it was destroyed. Yet, without a full occupation in Germany and systematic de-imperialization, within 20 years, Germany was on the global scene again and attacking its neighbors very successfully. But the psychological reason behind this was that the vast majority of Germans in the interwar period believed that their country had actually won the World War I, with the Reich only being defeated by stab in the back, nož v spinu na ruském jazyке. That was the revolution of 1918. This is US historian of German origin, Gerhard Weinberg. Well, this mistake was corrected only by Potsdam Treaty and full-scale democratization and denazification of Germany after 1945. But the price for failing to demilitarize and democratize Germany after First World War was the Second World War with its 50 million victims. There is a lesson to be learned when we think about the future of Russian Empire. Well, what happened with Germany after the Potsdam Agreement in 1945 was full military occupation of Germany and large territorial concessions. A large part of Eastern Germany became part of Poland and part of Russia. Then there was a Soviet occupation zone in the red color, and the British, German, and French occupation zones, which became later, in 1949, Bundesrepublik Deutschland. And then in 1990, the Eastern Germany and the Western Germany reunited. Now, Treaty of Saint-Germain and Treaty of Trianon regulated disintegration of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Now, Austro-Hungarian Empire at the beginning of war had a population of 52 million people and over 600,000 square kilometers territory. UK at that time had 46 million people, France had 40 million people, so it was a major European empire. Now, the map shows how this empire was divided, and you can see that, if I count correctly, 7 current independent states are all based on the territory which used to be Austro-Hungarian Empire, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other states of current Europe were partly Italy, northern Italy, part of Empire, parts of Poland, Ukraine, parts of Romania, and parts of Serbia. Were all part of it. Now, because this process, well, let me jump to Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire had around 24 million people and 2.5 million square kilometers, large territory. And today, this territory is host to 8 today is fully or partly 8 independent Arab states: Iraq, Kuwait, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. In this territory, there was one language, there was one religion, but 8 states were created. And this is something to learn also. Now, sorry.
Can you mute your microphone?
I think he thinks he's still.
At least I can hear him, yeah. Mr. Takahashi, can you mute the microphone?
Shall we do?
Yes,
Okay. hopefully. Now, the disintegration of Turkey was regulated by the Treaty of Sevres in 1920. That treaty was never ratified.
Mr. Nakakashi? That's really good censorship.
Like two conferences going on at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. On the same computer. F5. Sorry. Let's hope we will be able to finish this. There we are. The Treaty of Sevres was adopted in 1920, never ratified. It was annulled by the results of Turkish War of Independence.
Oleg, you are the admin. You can take out Takashi from the room.
We have done
They
it.
can
Thank you.
join.
Thank you. We've done it already. Please continue.
So you give a click on those dots. And
Yes,
you
we
can
have done
take
it already.
out of the
Thank
room.
you. Please continue.
Well, what happened on the territory of Anatolia is another example of what can happen within the process of disintegration, and that is when there are powerful military forces, they can oppose what the international forces and treaties ask them to do, and the international community just accepts what is the reality on the ground. Well, so no large Armenia was created, no independent Kurdistan was created. There is a Turkey as we know it today, which includes the eastern Anatolia. But that was not the plan adopted in Paris in 1920. Yeah, Turks changed their destiny by doing what they did. And I'm not going to moralize about what was going in Armenia and why and how it happened. Well, the Treaty of Trianon could end up the same way. If the Romanians and Czechoslovaks were not able to defend what the Treaty of Trianon gave them, to defend by a military power, the Hungary would include what is now Slovakia and what is Transylvania, meaning western mountainous part of Romania. It did not happen because both Czechoslovakia and Romania were able to militarily defeat Hungarians in the wars, and well, this is the Czechoslovak armored train fighting against Hungarians. These were not major wars compared to unmanaged disintegration of a country, like unmanaged disintegration of Yugoslavia, where 140,000 people died over 10 years of wars. This was short and with few thousand people died. But that was because they were ready and because for instance, French military was willing to support, at least by sending some higher officers to Czechoslovakia and Romania to help with the fight. Again, something to learn. Well, similarly, Poles had to defend their newly gained independence from Russian invasion. This is a famous picture of the miracle on this stela. Now, and this is the kind of my summary, what needs to be done on the verge of the Russian Empire's disintegration in absence of Woodrow Wilson for 21st century. We have many Chamberlains. We have many Daladiers, many people willing to deal with devils, willing to deal with the tyrants. But we don't have Woodrow Wilson, visionary politicians yet. Maybe they will emerge. Who knows? Winston Churchill also somehow emerged after Chamberlain. Well, we need to trigger debate about the disintegration of Russia among the elites in the West. It was already said. Without that, it's difficult to move ahead. We need to design processes and parameters of disintegrations of Russia and condition for international recognition of new states, this needs to be debated in Europe, in North America, Japan, elsewhere. We need to start to build capacities for independence of the states, new states of Northern Eurasia. Capacity building, I mean, Americans invested tremendous amounts to democracy building in Iraq. It's quite a failed proposition from the very beginning because of complex reasons. To invest much smaller resources into building capacities for democratic governance in post-Russia space is a much better investment. But we need to move in that direction. And obviously, the first condition is to win the war in Ukraine. So, Slava Ukraine, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your perfect historic overview. So let's try to go back to the Japan and connect to Mr. Takahashi. Another attempt.
He's finished his goal.
Tell him to do it again.
Yes, Mr. Takahashi, can you hear us?
No, we cannot.
But we still cannot hear you.
Because he's finished.
Tell him we liked it so much we're going to hear it again.
Let's try. Ask
Can you speak once again?
No.
Ask Andrei probably Gorenka to speak.
Andrei Gorenko, can you help us?
Mr. Magaretsky, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Professor Ledeneber, we are so sorry to interrupt your speech. Mr. Ledeneber, we are so sorry, sir. Now may I start?
Yes, you are welcome to deliver a speech.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Korekyo Takahashi, the representative director of All Japan Craft Research Organization. Before I start the speech, I'd like to assert two things. One, all the nuclear weapons in Russia must be removed now, immediately. Two, Russia must be expelled from the UN Security Council immediately for global peace. And after these two small messages, I'd like to start my speech. Plato, a very large Japanese island deprived by Russia. Looking at East Asia on your globe, you will find long stretch islands around the latitude of 50 degrees north. The long stretch island has been governed by Japan for a couple of 100 years. And however, Russia, at the late 19th century, suddenly started to claim sovereignty over the island and virtually annexed the island to the empire by military forces. This island is called Plato in Japanese, whereas Russians call this island Sakhalin. And Russia attempted to colonize Japan, but conversely defeated by Japan, both land and sea, in 1905. Consequently, Russia reluctantly returned to Japan to the southern portion of Plato that separates from the northern portion at the latitude of 50 degrees north. Unlike the northern portion, the southern portion of Plato, under the Japanese reign, dramatically achieved great development. The entire island of Plato today is again illegally occupied by Russia. This is because Japan wants to leave Russia and signed a neutral treaty with them. This was a big mistake. We learned trusting Russia results in a nightmare. To all of you, please do not be fooled by Russians. Well, it was a short speech, and if you have some questions, I take some questions. Then, did you hear me?
Yes, we have heard your speech. Thank you so much. We ask you to stay another 20 minutes because we will have question and answers after all the speakers. And now I would like to return.
For now, should I leave? For now, should I leave?
No. Do you want to continue your speech?
Okay. And